Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Run in the Paint recap. Today is Saturday, May 23rd. I'm Miles here with Ben. Ben, how are you doing today?
Then we get as usual. So always good.
All is well here as we kick off Memorial Day weekend. Hope everyone is safe celebrating out there this weekend as we really officially kick off the start of summer here in 2026. But in the NBA world, we had game three of the Western Conference Finals last night between the Thunder and the Spurs. And let's get right into that game with Oklahoma City getting a big road win, 123 to 108 to take a 2-1 lead in the Western Conference Finals. Heading into this game, the number one thing that we were looking out for on this podcast was who was going to be available for the Spurs between their point guards with De'Aaron Fox and Dylan Harper, who've gotten nicked up over the course of the playoffs and were questionable for this game. Both of them available. Both of them played in this game. And it definitely gave the Spurs a big boost early, Ben, as they started the game on a 15-0 run over the first 2.5 minutes, a perfect start. But then after that, it was Oklahoma City that really dominated the rest of the game because of their bench.
Yeah, that's funny. San Antonio, I saw they had like one of the better, playoff s- starts like in league history or something. They were saying on the broadcast, like starting off being up 15-0. So it's quite impressed with the intensity San Antonio came out with, and they sure dominated the start. But then, I gotta credit OKC a lot. They stayed poised. They kept positive, remained confident. That team, they continued to do a good job of doing that, and they, came back and fought, and how they were dominant for the rest of the game. And like you mentioned, the bench, like man, the role players really showed up on the road now. How often do you see multiple big pro player performances from from a team on the road? It was unbelievable. These guys off the bench were big. So credit them for the Thunder.
Yeah, I mean, for Oklahoma City, no J Dub in this game with the hamstring injury. We had a feeling that he would be out after, he's been dealing with that all playoffs. We were saying how, or at least I said that I felt that that's an injury that it kind of feels like they won't play him unless they really, really need him because they have played so well without him this season. And in this game, of course, they get off to the slow start, but then their bench comes in and just gives them a ton of poise, which is just interesting to see here, Ben. We know, I mean, this is what championship teams do. The reigning champs from last year, all these guys have been through this before, except for one guy in particular, Jared McCain, who we'll talk about his performance in a little bit. But really, all these guys, they throughout this series, Ben, they have played, their bench has played really well in this series. I'd say their starting lineup for the most part, has struggled outside of the MVP and Shea Gilgis Alexander and Hartenstein in game two. But, besides that, it really has been the bench, in my opinion, that has put OKC up 2-1 in this series against a very good Spurs team.
Yeah, the bench's been fantastic. Look, Alex Caruso continues to be big. Like led the plus minus category plus 28. Him and also Jared McKean at a plus 28. So yeah, Teresa G just continues to impress me on both ends. I was watching him in this one. I said I was gonna watch him on last night's pod, and he continues to do the right things on both ends. He always hustles hard, plays great defense. He got good scoring going. He hits a good, you know, 3-point shots. I remember earlier, like the first quarter, try to help give them a boost to start make it closer when he, started getting it going finally against the Spurs at the beginning. And Jared McCain, that was just, I mean, a great addition. Who knows where the Thunder will be in this series? about this performance of Jared McCain, 24 points, and he just did great at hitting some big timely shots throughout the game. I remember him having one like layup down low around Wemby. That was a tough finish by him that I was quite impressed with. So I mean, McCain and Caruso, I'm just impressed with their poise and energy. That they're phenomenal today for the OKC Thunder.
Yeah, Jared McCain, 24 points, only 2 for 10 from 3 though. And this is a guy that with this Thunder team, his role has kind of been a little more simplified as a sharpshooter. And I feel like at times that's kind of what we've known him to become, but he showed in this game he is certainly not just a three-point shooter. 8 for 11 on 2-point shots, and most of them were right at the basket. He has great chemistry with a lot of his teammates. Caruso comes in, has another great 3-point game. I mean, it really is crazy. Like this guy who, he is really going to go down with the performances that he's been having for, the Thunder in these playoffs and then for the Lakers title team. He's going to go down as one of the great role players of our era. He just really is because I mean, it really is crazy that he goes from in the regular season shooting 29% from three to 46% on far more attempts heading into this game. And he hits a few more in this one, three-pointers, 3 for 5 from downtown. And, along with that, you get 11 from Cason Wallace, 5 threes from Jay Will, the other Jalen Williams. Normally, when you see the scoreboard here, every time I type it down, I put in JAL Williams because that's just the better Williams. Usually he's having the stat line, but I finally got to put up Jay Will's stat line because he was huge. I mean, 5 threes. His start in the first quarter was huge. He had 8 points in the first quarter, and in the fourth quarter, he had that 4-point play. This was just such an impressive performance on the road in a hostile environment in San Antonio, their first conference finals home game in exactly 9 years. And I thought that once they got up double digits at the start of the third quarter, they responded every time the Spurs tried to make a run. And for the most part, along with Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, who, had 26 points in this game, again, it was the bench who had 76 points in this game, the 5th most in NBA playoff history for a bench.
Yeah, wow, and he did that on the road too in San Antonio. What was a great, environment they had going in San Antonio. Like that's just impressive right there. It just goes to show you how deep that basketball team is. It's a well constructed roster that Sam Presti somehow helped put together there, and they're really proving it on the court of Jay Will. Yeah, I mean, just another fantastic game from another bench player and him. Like he's improved his 3-point shot nicely this year. I mean, when he gets it going from free in the game and is able to help, the floor spacing for the Thunder when he comes in as a backup big off the bench, it proves to be a nice difference for them offensively when I've seen them do that a few times in some big games throughout the season. So he is a good character too.
Yeah, definitely huge from the bench. Again, 76 points. Which let's see. Let's do some math real quick. That's 61% of the Thunder points came from the bench. And I was just looking to see the playoff records for points by a bench in a game. Let me go back and see how many of those were on the road. I guess a decent of them are on the road, but this is just super impressive. Again, you mentioned the atmosphere. Look, I don't know if it's an overreaction or anything from seeing the Spurs back in the playoffs, but they are starting to jump up there on the playoff atmospheres. Like, to me, they might be number one after this postseason. It's just incredible what they do. Not only, the great shirts, but throughout the entire game, the chanting, the singing, the ole, 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 chanting flopper, that Shea, and they're just incredible. But we should talk about why they were saying that to Shea. And we should talk about the just wild third quarter of that was filled with a lot of fouls and whistles. My goodness, there were a lot of free throws. It was very physical, a lot of reviews, really throughout the entire games, but specifically, Ben, in the third quarter, We had 20 combined fouls, which led to 33 free throw attempts in just the third quarter. And that's one of those things where both teams were committing the fouls. And, once OKC was able to come back after that rough start, they had, a 7, 8 point lead at halftime. They were able to grow it a little bit to start the third quarter. The Spurs, I just felt they just kept fouling. And that was really halting any momentum that they were trying to get back in the game. Anytime they got a score or a stop or whatever, they would just foul, send them to the free throw line, and now the Thunder have all the momentum, slowing the game down again.
Yeah, I think not a whole lot of playoff experience with guys out there playing for the Spurs. Sort of affected them there with all the fouls. They had some bad fouls I thought from watching, and it's some sloppy turnovers in this game. Now, I mean, they turned it over a bit less in this game. I mean, Stephon Castle, he hardly turned it over, at least for him in this one, but still, that wasn't quite enough. They, sort of got out of control sometimes in the third quarter. The Spurs need to calm down a bit more, and they did get to the free throw line somehow themselves to get them out. The Thunder were fouling too, and they were making the Spurs earn it a lot at the line in that quarter, and so I mean, I'm good to see the Spurs drawing some fouls there, but you know, OKC, I mean, I still credit in that they just still in that third quarter didn't seem to allow them to really get anything easy on defense, and I mean that was just the case. I thought from the Thunder they tied it up after the big run by the Spurs in the third quarter. I thought so. Just credit again with the defense from OKC as well.
Now, on San Antonio side, we've done a lot of talking about OKC, rightfully so, because they played very well. How do you feel that the Spurs played, specifically Victor Wembanyama? He did have 26 points in this game, solid efficiency, got to the line a whole lot. But I don't know, like just something about this game. I thought that he was fine, but I didn't think his performance was, I don't know, good enough to give his team a chance to win this game.
Yeah, I observed that same thing as you, Miles. I like it. I agree, and he didn't score a lot of points in the first half. I mean, when Thunder was started to give him more of a run in the first half. I was wishing he would just be more aggressive on offense. He could get up some more shots then. Totally, just even really throughout the game for same thing. I wish there could have been some more involvement with him in the paint, with him getting it going, sort of like it was in game one. And the Spurs got to figure out how they could somehow get more of that going. But I think OKC's played some better defense. The bigs, over these last few games have stepped up on them and played good defense on them for the Thunder, which has been big for them. So it's just they gotta get more under control the Spurs, and I thought SGA also had 26 points, but was definitely like the even better player than Wemby in this game.
Yeah, I thought that of those two guys, Shea 100% did a better job of applying pressure to the defense in this game. Like, again, even though Shea didn't shoot well, 6 of 17 from the field, he got to the line 12 times. Wemby does shoot better, 8 for 15, gets to the line 10 times, knocks down 8 of them. But I just thought that every time Shea had the ball, like there was a double team that was coming over from the Spurs, and just Shea was just making the right play every time, drawing fouls like he normally does. And again, like, the conversation we hear all the time regarding the Thunder is just how they're all floppers. Shea's a flopper. All they do is get to the free throw line. But like, look, I mean, Ben, the Spurs were fouling them. Like, I don't know what you want. I don't know what they're
Yeah,
supposed to do.
yeah, there was still contact. I mean, I didn't think the officials of this game didn't have a problem with the calls. I think Mark Davis, who's one of the better refs, in my opinion, did a good job with this game and, with the fouls and all that. You're right, there's just contact and stuff. The Spurs got to, guess, control themselves better and know better on, the fakes SGA could try to get a whoop because he's good at, doing fakes and, doing what it takes to, just draw fouls, draw the contact as always, as he likes to do.
Yeah, no question about it. Otherwise on the Spurs, Devin Vassell had 20. I thought he had a pretty good game on both ends, made some tough shots, but outside of that, like I just don't think they got many strong performances from their other guys. Champagny has had a struggle from three-point range in this series so far. Fox returned, had 15 points on 14 shots, 7 rebounds, 6 assists. Actually was a +9 on the game in his near 31 minutes of play, but I thought his return kind of impacted the rhythm of a guy like Dylan Harper, who didn't give them much of anything in this game coming off the bench after starting games 1 and 2. Now, of course, you're a rookie point guard. You're going to go through your ups and downs, but changing your role in the middle of the series, I'm sure, that doesn't help either. And that's something that, it's definitely a concern with, having to integrate, a guy like Fox back into the lineup. Castle, you mentioned, only one turnover in this game, but 14 points, 11 of them came from the free throw line. Otherwise, he was 1 for 8 from the field, 1 for 5 from three. And, there was that stretch in the third quarter where the Spurs forced a couple turnovers and the Thunder, a veteran team like they are, we saw back-to-back plays where Alex Caruso and AJ Mitchell fouled Stephon Castle. Now, the one on AJ Mitchell was a flagrant foul, and then Mitchell had to leave the game with an injury. We'll talk about that later. But those were situations where I thought that Castle was kind of, I won't say, I don't know what the word is. Like, I don't think it was nonchalantly or slowly at all, but he didn't go to the rim with enough force to get the easy 2 points. He allowed the defense to get back and commit the foul, make him earn at the free throw line, and ultimately he left a point or two there at the free throw line. And he's getting upset. He's getting in the faces of Caruso. There are scuffles with Vassell and Mitchell, and it's just like, there you see, what we're kind of maybe worried about a little bit with the Spurs. This is their first time going through this, the inexperience, the lack of poise in these moments. And again, with the fouls, the poise when the Thunder foul and it's just playoff basketball, but they don't think it's just playoff basketball. The poise is something that you just didn't really see from the Spurs tonight.
No, it wasn't the Thunder. To me, he had the better poise, and Steen Tennis, I gotta figure out. I think could be more calm and just find ways to get in a more consistent, good rhythm against this Thunder team, I would say.
Yeah, but the Thunder also getting this done without AJ Mitchell for the rest of the game after that altercation. Kind of a strange play there, re-aggravating the injury a little bit from game 2, didn't play a whole lot. Again, he doesn't play super well in this game. He only had 2 points in this game. It was similar in the previous 2 games of this series. But now that's another guy that's been playing well for the Thunder throughout these playoffs that they may have to be without for, going forward in this series, looking ahead to game 4, which will be on Sunday night back in San Antonio, where the Spurs will try to even up the series at 2 games apiece. Um, we'll see what the Thunder decide to do with their lineup if Mitchell is not able to go. See if they put Caruso or McCain in the starting lineup, or just go with Case and Wallace, someone who's used to being in that starting lineup. But we'll see. I mean, overall, just going forward for the Spurs, they're just going to need to play a lot better of a game, because I'd say that besides the 15-0 start, the first like 3 minutes of the game, I mean, OKC outscored them by 30 points the rest of the game. Like, I thought they completely dominated this game after the first 3 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. Got to be more complete next time around, and they really, don't want to go down 3-1 going back to OKC's gym, so they gotta just get their act together in the next game.
Yep. So game four on Sunday night, 8 p.m. on NBC and Peacock. We will preview the game more in depth, talk about some adjustments that we want to see from the Spurs on tomorrow's podcast. But tonight, we've got another big game three, this time in the Eastern Conference Finals between the New York Knicks, the red hot Knicks, going to Cleveland to take on the Cavaliers. The Cavs looking to get on the board in this series after dropping the first two games in Madison Square Garden, while New York looks to continue this incredible hot streak that they've been going on, looking for their 10th straight playoff victory, which I don't know. I'm going to look right now and see how many times that has happened in the playoffs. But Ben, definitely, we talked about it the last few days on how we expect to see the Cavs hopefully having a bit of a reset now, coming back home where they played so much better in the playoffs after the rough loss in game one, the complete collapse, and then the game two defeat. Ben, what are you looking to see from Cleveland as they, are in a must-win scenario back on their home floor?
Yeah, just I need to see a good, complete, consistent game. You can't let the Knicks go on any sort of big run. I'm gonna say that once again, like that third quarter one run by the Knicks in game two at the beginning of that was another big run they had by them, and we can't let this you know things happen. We need to try to be consistently looking at attacking the basket, being more aggressive, play with more force. The Cavs, like the way the big men got involved for the kids at the beginning of game two. I just want to see that stuff throughout the game, because when the bigs find a way to get on a roll and they're getting off good shots down near the basket and being aggressive down there on offense, while also playing good defense with rebounding, it's proven to be a big difference for the Cavs when they get great wins. So I know I keep saying it, but that I want to see the bigs bring into this one. Can't go down 3-0, and just same for the whole team, of course. And yeah, I mean, James Harden, he had in a big scoring game the past multiple games. Maybe he's due for one of this game. They could really use some more scoring help from him. Maybe help ease the load off of Donovan a bit in the backcourt if they could get that. Though you know, Donovan, aggressive too still. Though I mean, he looked a bit off his ankle in the second game, but I guess he's all right because he's was saying, in the presser that he thinks he's fine, which I guess he is. So see how he looks in the game, but hopefully, he'll be fine.
Yeah, we'll see how Donovan Mitchell looks. I mean, that's key point number one. I mean, he needs to be explosive, driving to the basket from the get-go to have a big game. I mean, that's going to be crucial for the Cavs to have a chance. You're right with the bigs; they need to go to their bigs, and then just defensively, they need to stick with what is working. And to me, like for the most part, they need to trust their data defensively, that look, if we are stopping all the other guys in the starting lineup outside of Jalen Brunson, then so be it. We'll live with the tough shots that Jalen Brunson has to make if they're defended by a strong defender on your team. But no one is going to have a chance against the New York Knicks if Brunson is dishing off the 14 assists like he had in game two, and then Towns, Bridges, Anunoby, and Josh Hart are all having high scoring games. They're just not gonna, you're not gonna have a chance against them when all of them are playing well. So I think they're gonna have to do with what they did to start game one and just trust that your defense is going to guard the other guys well. And if Brunson beats you, that is then you make the adjustment there. But I'm looking to see here from the Cavs if it gets to that point where Brunson is having success in one-on-one matchups against a James Harden. I know that's been the big target. Will Kenny Atkinson make the big decision here in a must-win scenario with a chance to go down 3-0? If he will make the decision to, man, Harden, if you don't have it, we can't be playing you. You can't be on the floor. We have to go with more defense. Like, these are the scenarios where as a coaching staff, you have to be able to make those tough decisions. And now we're at the point of the season. Again, your season basically on the line here tonight. You can't be messing around. So, we'll see if the Cavs have any adjustments as far as their rotation goes. What their role players should play better at home. Their role players were brutal in game 2, but overall, you just gotta make some adjustments and be confident with your game plan, and defensively just guard the other players on the Knicks, because they're most dangerous when everyone has it going.
Yeah, they can't get dangerous when they're playing good complete ball, and yeah, the kids, they can't screw around with matchups exactly. Can't have falters there at matchups like in the first few games, like Kenny Atkinson, the coaching staff. I mean, I think they need to collaborate good on making sure they hopefully getting good matchups. At least I'm cool with that I'm seeing while I'm watching, and hope hopefully we do have some better answers on defense. I mean, I would say like giving up 109 points in game 2. I mean, it was okay. Like the defense, I want to say was bad in game 2. That's for sure. I mean, then more so that one's just shot making didn't help us, and the Cavs, they've struggled at the line in some games. Hopefully, this is a game where the Cavs can somehow shoot it well at the free throw line and won't be getting distracted by visiting fans. Hopefully, that works on the home baskets, and just hopefully the kids are just somehow shooting better again at home. Like I think they have shot more better at home in the playoffs. I'd like to see that. Hopefully, continue with the shooting at home.
Well, Cleveland is going to have to weather some storms from New York, and with the Knick fans that are going to travel to Cleveland. I mean, there are going to be a lot of Knick fans traveling to Cleveland with the run that they've been on. This has been a historically good playoff run for the Knicks so far, looking for their 10th straight win. Looking it up, if they do get it, they would become just the 10th team in NBA playoff history to go on a 10-game winning streak in the playoffs. So trying to continue that in game 3, but Cavs going to have to be ready to play a full 48 and weather some storms. And, hopefully we'll see a good performance from James Harden. As I said, back when the Cavs made the trade for James Harden on our reaction here on the podcast, although there might be some skepticism because of the playoff droppage that happens with Harden in some moments, and we've lived that at some points in the playoffs, you're usually good to get 2 really good James Harden games in the playoffs, and that has also held true so far in the playoffs. So it's about time for the beard to step up. So we'll see if that does happen in Cleveland tonight. As far as predictions for game 3, Ben, what do you think happens? Will New York go up 3-0, or can the Cavs get on the board here in the conference finals?
Yeah, this is a tough one because the Knicks, they're really on a roll winning. I wonder if they somehow continue that, but Cavs are back at home at least. Cavs, come on now, we better not drop another one here. But right now, I'm gonna go with the Cavs. I think we can somehow pull out a close one, but it's one sort of a toss-up game to me. I think it comes down to execution and shot making to me, and I believe the kids will somehow do that better. And I gonna guess, a big part will be some role guys stepping up and looking better on the home floor, like hopefully Merrill and Struce or Wade, someone getting it going for free, and just hopefully more consistent play from our big men throughout the game.
Yeah, but I'm gonna go with the Cavs as well to get on the board. But New York has certainly been, a dominant team in these playoffs, and I mean, you could say they've been more dominant on the road. I mean, since Game 4 in Atlanta, they've won every road game by 15, 14 points or more, by an average of 23 points per victory in the playoffs. That's including their 1 point loss in Game 3. They're winning by an average of 23 points per game on the road. So certainly confident because they know that they have their fans traveling with them. Expect expect Rocket Arena to be rocking there for the first Cavs home conference finals game in 8 years. And I think that they will get on the board and get the job done. But obviously it starts tonight for the Cavs. They cannot go down 3-0 in this series.
Yeah, it absolutely can't, because no one's come back for that before. So the kids got to be ready to bring it at home to another great free, sort of like the one in the Pistons series. Hopefully the Cavs look a lot better, and of course, as always, that they make us happy on tomorrow night's pod. But we'll see.
Yep, hope that we are coming on here happy tomorrow after game 3 of the Eastern Conference Finals, 8 p.m. on ABC. Before we get out of here, Ben, the all defensive teams were announced yesterday in the NBA. So let's talk about them for, real quick. On the all defensive first team, we have, of course, the Defensive Player of the Year, Victor Wembanyama, who was the only unanimous vote on the first team. Then Chet Holmgren from OKC, Asar Thompson from the Detroit Pistons, Rudy Gobert, and Derek White. Then on the second team, Scotty Barnes, Kaysen Wallace, Bam Adebayo, OG Anunoby, and Dyson Daniels. So Ben, what are your thoughts here on these two all defensive teams for the NBA this season?
Yeah, interesting all defensive teams. I would say, the first four guys you mentioned on the first team, I sort of expected to get on there, and he did, which was good. But the surprise to me and other fans was Derek White getting on there. Credit Derek White. He's always been a great defender as a guard throughout his career, but I thought Scotty Barnes deserved that more than him. I think Barnes brought even more impact, at least this year there, in his length of versatility. It's helped him a lot on that end. But I mean, it gets on the second team at least. Still, though, deserved the first team, but it's still getting some recognition for great year on defense. It's really helped Toronto improve. So the second team, I wasn't surprised about Keeson Wallace and Dyson Daniels. I had them on my second team when I did our award predictions thing, or just who we would have picked our award picks. But so they deserve that, and OG and Bam. I mean, I was a bit surprised by those ones. Jalen Duran over like Bam on like the second team. When we did our award picks thing, I mean, it was close between those guys. Maybe Bam got the nod because, like, I don't know, we aren't gonna pick two Pistons players on there. I would have preferred Durham, but it's close. But I know, if you guys remember, I had like Donovan Klingon on like my first team somehow on our award picks, and I
Hey,
don't.
you matched two voters who gave him
Yeah,
two second place votes on the actual ballot.
yeah. I mean, I thought he would have deserved the second team at least. Klingon, I thought he had an underrated year on that end, but hopefully, next year could be the year. Maybe he does it. He could took even more of a leap there. And oh, gee, I was a bit surprised he made it over like Castle and Thompson, but maybe it was, just he was the best defender on the Knicks, which he was, and the Knicks were a team that's won a lot of games and has gone a great run to the plus. Still deservable for him, though. Or for like Castle or Thompson and Amen Thompson and Stephon Kitts were like the last two out, so just missed the cut by a few votes, but still, got some solid recognition from the voters, but wasn't enough.
Yeah, I guess what kind of stands out looking at this. I mean, you mentioned some of the guys that didn't make it. I'm surprised that Amen Thompson didn't end up making it, and it's only Asar that got on the team. The Derek White over Scotty Barnes thing, I do agree is a little crazy. Um, I do think it's interesting though that now across the board on the voting, with Case and Wallace getting on the second team, that the league looks at Case and Wallace as being the Thunder's best perimeter defender over Lou Dort. I think that is a very interesting development. I don't know, and we've seen him, play more because of the 3-point shooting and his fast. He's a faster player on the offensive end, so he can play more. But I just find that interesting now that very quickly, after just 3 years in the league, Cason Wallace is regarded as the best perimeter defender on the best defensive team that we've seen in a long time. So I think that's, Cason Wallace should definitely feel good about that accomplishment. But aside from that, the Thunder were the only team in the league that got two players on the teams, which I do think was surprising. I agree with you, Ben. I think Jalen Duren for his regular season did deserve some recognition. He didn't get it. Of course, Asar Thompson, the only Piston to get it. You mentioned Derek White getting it. Boston was a top tier defense. They had other guys that played well. Derek White getting on the second team, I think would have been suited better. But I think the biggest thing for me was Bam Adebayo getting on. I'm just kind of surprised that he got on when the Heat's defense, what we could call it what it is. I mean, for the Heat standards, I'd say they were a train wreck defensively this year. They had a lot of
Yeah,
problems near
right.
the end of the season. So even though Bam is great and he deserves a lot of recognition, for the individual season that he had at different points, I do not think that he deserved to get it over. He got more votes than OG Anunoby and Dyson Daniels, let alone guys that were off the list in Castle, Amen Thompson, Tamani Kamara for Portland. He was the guy that got the most votes for that team. That I think was kind of surprising.
Yeah, well, I would have given the nod to him there, but he made it. Good for him. And you're right. I think for the Heat, their defensive standards were lower than it should have been for them. So, yeah.
Yeah, and then another interesting thing to know too is out of the top 10 defensive teams in the NBA this season, I'm trying to look real quick at live doing this in real time. I believe the only two teams out of the top 10 defensive teams that didn't get a player on here were the Houston Rockets, who have the sixth best defense in the league, and then the Phoenix Suns at the ninth best defense in the league. Neither of those teams got one on there. Of course, we think Amen Thompson should have probably made it on the team. But Phoenix as well. Now, looking at the Suns, guys here, it appears that that's because they didn't really, their top defenders really didn't meet the 65 game requirement rule, or at least the number one guy that probably would have been the player to get on there was probably Dylan Brooks. He only played 56 games this year. Their other top games played like Royce O'Neal, Jordan Goodwin, Ryan Dunn. Those are their defensive guys. They were good defensively, but of course, none of them I don't think deserve to be on an all defensive team. So, overall, I think they did an okay job with the all defensive teams, but still some things that I don't think we definitely don't completely agree with.
Yeah, I agree with you there. It's okay to be not a bad list, but it's things that I would have changed a bit. A few disagreements.
Yeah, not bad, but not great by any means. Looking forward the rest of the awards that we're still awaiting to hear from Sunday night. We will learn about the All NBA teams before Game 4 of the Western Conference Finals, and then next Tuesday at 7:30, we'll hear about the Coach of the Year at 7:30 before Game 5 between the Spurs and the Thunder. So still a few more things to learn about here, but definitely winding down here on award season so far on the Run of the Paint podcast. Done a pretty good job. I'd have to go through and actually calculate. Actually, we could go through right now and calculate what we've gotten right so far. I mean, we got Shea for MVP. We did not get Rookie of the Year because we all picked Con Knipple. Cooper Flag got the late run and he was able to get it. We got Keldon Johnson right. So 2 for 3 there for Sixth Man of the Year. Obviously, Wemby for Defensive Player of the Year. Most Improved Player as a collective because of the fan vote. Danny Abdia won it, but Nikhil Alexander Walker ended up winning it. Still have to hear about Coach of the Year, Clutch Player of the Year went to Shea. So far we are 4 for 6 on this. So as long as we get Coach of the Year correct, which overall in the podcast, because of the fan vote, we got JB Bickerstaff to win it. As long as JB wins as the overall podcast, we would continue our 3-year streak of getting 5 out of 7 correct, which is,
Yeah,
very interesting.
yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I picked Missoula back then, but that was obviously before the Celtics' disappointing playoff exit we saw. I'm not sure how much that really could factor into it. It could go to Missoula, possibly, or could go to Bickerstaff. I think those are the two most likely. So I'm curious to see who wins it out of those two. I think Missoula wins it though. I don't think Missoula's gonna care too much about it. I think JB Bickerstaff could feel a bit better about it if he wins one. And we, you know, you know, well, this podcast last year, gave JB Bickerstaff good credit too. For being able to possibly win Coach of the Year. He could be deserving of winning one here eventually this year. So I'm curious to see what the voters do with that. Obviously, Mitch Johnson's another candidate. I wonder, just with the Spurs winning a ton of games, a lot of people figured, they would improve, but not by as much as they did this year. I wonder how much the voters would give him credit on the rankings.
Yeah, I wonder how many coaches will actually receive a whole lot of votes. So that will definitely be interesting. Yeah, that is kind of crazy to think about it though on this podcast for us being Cavs fans and of course JB Bickerstaff. He was good with the Cavs, but of course there were some frustrating moments for I think particularly Joey and Nick on this podcast with JB where they didn't really like him a whole lot. And the fact that on this podcast he's won Coach of the Year back-to-back years on the podcast, 2-time reigning. So we'll see if he can actually get it in real life. But we still have to wait a few more days to find out. As far as for us here, again, as Ben said greatly earlier, hopefully we're back on here happy tomorrow as Game 3 of the Eastern Conference Finals moves to Cleveland, where the Cavs will take on the red-hot New York Knicks, 8 p.m. on ABC. That is it for us here. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like, subscribe for more NBA playoff content. Hope you have a great rest of your day, and we'll catch you in the next one.
Peace.